Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television. This is all we'll give you up-to-the-minute development in what goes on in the world of business, finance, investment, commerce, and the stock market. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining in on the program. First, we'll begin with the headlines for today. And on today's program, the headlines, we'll be talking about the CBN reserves, which has hit an all-time status, and also the biggest shocker that came in with President Muhammadu Buhari sacking the head of the NDDC. We'll give you more developments on that, especially for the business roundup segment of the program. We'll take a short breather. When we return, Business Daily continues. Please stay.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. This is still Business Daily. Now let's get into updates from the stock market, and we'll begin from the Nigerian exchange, talking about the local buzz here in Nigeria. Now the Nigeria exchange finished penultimate trade higher as the benchmark index inched higher by 0.03% amid renewed bargain hunting on the floor of the Nigerian exchange. So we are seeing bargain hunting coming in back, and that is moving positive sentiments into the Nigeria stock market, and we are seeing the bulls dominating in the front of the Nigeria stock market. Now let's move over now to other parts of Africa and see what's happening with other exchanges in Africa. Of course, we bring you developments from other buzzes in Africa. We talk about what's happening with Johannesburg Securities Exchange, the close for the Johannesburg Securities Exchange. Now, African investors in that strait are continuing to look at what's happening, especially on the global recession risk and also the ongoing earnings season. This has been a major market for markets in recent times. It has been a major focus for markets in recent times. We've seen big tech companies also declare earnings and what their outlook will be like for the global recession and also the economic prospects of corporates. Now we have the JSE there down 1.58% at 64,752, while the GSE in Ghana is up 3.84% at 2,366. Now those are the numbers from other buzzes we'll monitor for you on the program. Now let's quickly go over to Wall Street, talking about what's happening in the US. Stock futures are down as investors are also coming out from what has been a tumultuous situation with bonds and also what's happening with rising and wide-ranging corporate earnings. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 0.30%. The S&P 500 shed 0.80%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite shed 0.61% at 10,614.84. So all the arrows here in Wall Street are pointing down into the red category. So much happening for what's happening with interest rate, what's the outlook, especially for the global economy. There's an energy crisis going on in Europe. China is also bringing up its policies. So a lot of this is really pricing. Investors are pricing into these developments for the markets. Let's go over to the Eurozone. What's happening with European market? Corporate earnings were a mixed bag, especially for what's happening with the corporate world. Now for Europe, the FTSE 100 in the UK is down 0.56%. The CAC 40, the CAC run in France, is down 1.06%, and the German DAX is down 1% at 12,639.88. The focus for Europe largely is what's happening in the UK. Some have tagged the whole situation going on in the UK as a chaos, basically, for what's happening with the UK economy. Now, we saw the Prime Minister also resigning after 45 days in office. So there's a lot of fiscal somersault going on there, and that's what is the focus for major markets in Europe, especially what investors looking at the FTSE 100, what they are pricing into. For France, of course, there are protests going on in France around the energy sector in that strait, and for Germany we are seeing all of that culminating into a negative close for major bourses, major indexes in the Eurozone. Now let's go over to the Asia Pacific region, where markets traded lower as investors weigh inflation data from several economies around the world. The Nikkei 225 in Japan is now 0.43%. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite is shrugging off these concerns and is up 0.13% at 3,038.93. For the South Korea Kospi, you can see that we have the South Korea Kospi there down 0.22% at 2,213.12. So inflation is a key focus for market. There's normally an inverse relationship between inflation and interest rates. So this is what a lot of investors, a lot of traders really focus on. And the global economy, what's the outlook, is also a major focus for investors on across different bourses around the world. Let's go over to the commodities trade and see what's happening there. Now, looking at the numbers, we have majority of these commodities staying in red zone. Brent in red, gold in red, silver in red, wheat in red, and cocoa in red. So the only green standing out there from the chart you can see here is palm oil, trading at $4,100 per metric ton, up 0.10%. Coming down to Brent crude, $92.25 per barrel, down 0.14%. Now we are seeing issues in the oil market as market participants weighed concerns about steep inflation with optimism that China could see energy demand tick up. Now, looking at China, there's a lot been going around, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. China is saying it is easing its lockdown from the 10 days to 7 days thereabout, and we're seeing what's happening in that strait also affecting the oil market. Don't forget, Brent is the international benchmark for crude oil. Now, looking at the bullion, that's gold. Gold is down 0.66%. Prices were set for a second weekly decline as U.S. Treasury yields held near multi-year highs following strong labor market data and hawkish comment from the U.S. Federal Reserve. Now, central bankers across the world have stayed largely hawkish for some time now, talking about basically reining in on inflation. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank have all said central banks must not rely on their oars. They must continue to work to bring inflation down. The Hydra-headed COVID-19 did its toll on economies around the world, and now the aftermath of the offshoots from the UK, the Ukraine-Russian war, I beg your pardon, is also taking a toll on global economy. For cocoa, cocoa is trading at $2,328 per metric ton. Wheat there, $848.21 per metric ton. So really, looking at this chart, the major focus for Nigeria would be, what's happening with oil prices? But then again, going back to Nigeria's glory days, where agriculture was the focus, the mainstay for the Nigerian economy. How about we take a look at these commodities and probably harness the potentials in these commodities, as this will go a long way in helping add value to the Nigerian economy, especially at a time where the nation seeks to boost revenue buffers. Going on now to the crypto market, what's happening in the cryptocurrency world? Bitcoin still hovering around the $19,000 mark. That's the flagship cryptocurrency, up 0.16%. Ethereum up 0.56% at $1,288.64. For the Binance coin, $268, down 0.45%. The big news for the cryptocurrency market, of course, came in from South Africa this week, as we saw South Africa's financial watchdog classified cryptocurrency assets as financial products. Now, the cryptocurrency financial companies in South Africa will need to apply for a license between July 1 and November 20, 2023 in order to operate legally, the country's financial conduct regulator has disclosed. Of course, the issue that came out from South Africa talking about the cryptocurrency market, they are saying crypto assets can be considered as financial product, and this notice was in a government gazette from South Africa, and we saw how that boosted the cryptocurrency market, giving some kind of momentum to that market. As of November in the year 2021, we saw the flagship cryptocurrency, talking about Bitcoin, hit as high as $60,000, but now we are seeing that has drastically fallen to this figure that you can see here, $19,000. And experts in that sector have actually predicted that Bitcoin will end the year around the $17,000 mark. Of course, it is essential that if you must invest in the cryptocurrency world, you understand what you're investing, because the SEC in Nigeria, talking about the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Central Bank of Nigeria, they have all kicked to make Nigerians understand that the issue around this financial currency, cryptocurrency market still needs to be understood. So if you have to trade in all of this, there was actually a ban placed on it in the country. But of course, we bring you updates to follow the trends in that market as the government regulators keep looking at this and see how they can probably come to a standing point or a marriage point for this market in the country and other parts of the world. Central bankers have continued to watch the cryptocurrency market keenly for developments in that market, so a stance can be taken globally on the cryptocurrency market. And those are the numbers we have for you on the program today. I hope you've been able to take one or two from the numbers we have been able to crunch for you in the equities market segment of the program today. Now, the business roundup is up next, and you get to see it after this short breather. Please stay.
The Central Bank of Nigeria says Nigeria's foreign reserves have fallen to $37.7 billion as of October 18, 2022. This is the year's lowest level that has been noted. The demand for foreign exchange is increasing on the country's unofficial black market, where the naira dropped as low as 745 naira to the dollar on Thursday. Due to the CBN's ongoing involvement in the official market to preserve the stability of the local currency, the country's foreign reserve has been on the decline. Due to flooding and oil theft, the present amount, which is below $38 billion, is the lowest seen this year and is certain to continue declining. Meanwhile, the Bank of America recently projected that the official exchange rate could likely be devalued to 520 naira to the dollar in 2023, as it is well above fair value. The federal government is set to invest 8.07 trillion naira in 5 government priority areas pending National Assembly approval. The sectors are infrastructure, social development and poverty reduction programs, education, health, and defense and security. The 20.5 trillion naira national budget was recently submitted to MPs by President Muhammadu Buhari. The largest vote was for the defense and security sector at 2.74 trillion naira. This sum covers both ongoing and one-time expenditures for the armed forces, law enforcement, intelligence, and parliamentary. Nigeria is dealing with significant insecurity issues that have severely hampered output and driven up the cost of agricultural goods nationwide. The government plans to spend 756 billion naira, representing 4% of the planned budget, or 1.58 trillion naira on the health sector. Only 5% or less than 1 trillion naira of the total budget is allocated for infrastructure development. Simply put, the federal government intends to use a small portion of the budget, which is 998.93 billion naira, through the Ministries of Works and Housing, Power, Transport, Water Resources and Aviation to provide the severely underdeveloped infrastructure that exists throughout Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari has fired the sole administrator of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Effiong Akwa. The president also disclosed the formation of a new management group and governing board for the NDDC in a statement released on Thursday by the Director of Press, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, Patricia Deworishe. Recall that in December 2020, President Buhari appointed Akwa as the agency's director and fired Kemi Bradikumo Ponde as acting managing director of the NDDC. According to the statement, the names of the new management team and governing board will be submitted to the National Assembly for approval. Niger Delta stakeholders have urged the president to set up the commission's management and board in accordance with the law. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. This is Still Business Daily, coming to you from Trust Television. If you're just joining the program, you're right in time for the interview segment of the program. Today, my guest is joining me now. He's Andy Ode. He is the NLNG's General Manager, External Relations and Sustainable Development. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Hi, good morning. Good to be with you today.
Thank you. He's joining us live from Port Harcourt. Now, I just want you to culminate for us what's the situation now currently. We saw the force majeure being declared by the NLNG due to natural disasters, the flooding situation. Can you take us through what's happening now and how the whole issue got to where it is, talking about the declaration of the force majeure by the Limited?
Okay, thank you very much again. Just to clear, if you think that force majeure was initially declared or was first declared by gas suppliers, and as a result of that, we also had to declare force majeure because we have buyers that we also relate with. And of course, as we all know, force majeure is declared when an unforeseeable circumstance prevents a party from while acting as a reasonable and prudent for all. What is key here is that, we all know what issues around flooding is around the Delta where we operate and where our gas suppliers operate. So that's where we are, notwithstanding the declaration of force majeure, parties have a reasonable endeavor as duty of care to mitigate the impact of the force majeure. So consequently, NLNG is doing its very best to operate at capacity that is commensurate as we get from our suppliers. So to also confirm that we are still in production, we are still exporting LNG and delivering to the domestic market.
Thank you for that confirmation, because I was speaking with some Nigerians, and there's this thought out there that everything has been halted, exports is not happening. Well, thank you for that clarification. I want you to give us an assessment of the level of impact of what we have seen with the floods. We have seen the flooding, what's happening with the flooding situation in states across the country. What's the level of impact so far?
If I'll be specific to our operations, our plant in Bonny Island, we don't have any flooding on the island, and that's why we're able to operate. But of course, where we have pipeline communities or where we have assets within the areas where I've mentioned earlier, where our operators with the flood, as we speak, production coming into the plant. That's part of the impact, which means and less of LPG. But again, that is not to say that operations are not going on as they should. But I think the other thing is impact on people, where you have communities completely overrun and flooded by water. It's a big challenge for. So that's an area where the impact is really, really felt. Care for people is now important. That are strictly NLNG host communities. But in terms of our operations on Bonny Island, we're still producing LNG and we're still exporting LNG.
I want to also ask you, there have been speculations as to what this means for gas prices, especially cooking gas prices, because a lot of Nigerians use the gas for cooking. What should be the expectations? Are we expecting a surge in price of cooking gas?
Well, really, there's no reason why gas should go up. 2 years ago, LPG, Alfred Temile, a wholly dedicated vessel, left our facility in Bonny, loaded domestic LPG to go into the domestic market. So I think we should all be assured that as we speak, there's LPG, we always do. So there's really no cause for concern or alarm at this time to warrant an increase in the cooking gas in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because there's been some level of concerns that have been raised, especially with inflation doing 20.77% in the country and having the issue of high LPG, that's cooking gas for Nigerians, would really not be so palatable at this time. But like you have rightly stated there's no cause for concern, as the cooking gas prices would not be significantly impacted by what we have seen. I also want to ask you, Andy, what are there plans put in place also to mitigate incidents like this, even in the future?
Well, as you know, climate change is on us. The weather impacted. This is rare, but again, it is what it is in terms of some refer to it as either a natural disaster occurrence. Again, like I said, it's happening for the first time, this magnitude. What do we need? Point where there are concerns around how people have built around the floodplain. Development is happening into floodplains. I think a lot more work needs to be done in that area. But if you look at business itself, again, it's in place when contracts are signed is to support or assist in ensuring that something has happened because it has happened, and put you on notice that level of performance may not be where within a short time. But again, I just think that what needs to be done going forward, long-term planning around how we manage what we manage in the environment, within the environment. Of course, as a company, we are very clear in our minds to when we have a final situation within the community and how we put in place continuity for it to ensure that never happen, continue to operate. Long term is what we do and other people around climate, protecting the environment, giving what to do when flood comes. I believe that with our meteorologists, there's a really long-term warning and planning to be done, which is usually done anyway. I think that's where challenge and there's opportunity for us to deal with these kinds of issues.
I also want to get your opinion, or your thoughts rather, on the issue. The issue of vandalism has been it has been a major problem in the oil and gas sector in the country. How far has that affected probably productivity or output in the gas sector that is your turf?
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned oil, gas. Well, gas, there's very little you can do if you puncture or cut gas. What just happens is that it vaporizes. We haven't had such instances around gas lines. However, just to say something here that we're doing that is really working, our pipelines go through communities. And for the communities that our pipeline goes through, the right-of-way maintenance maintenance is usually the land-owning families in those. It's something that has worked, so they protect assets where it is. Recently, we've had to more use it as of community development. Development is done by communities. They own the process for development. The amount of money agreed as part of the funding for development are handed over to the community through clearly governance processes with Board of Trustees registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. That is also helping. So two things that I've said: one, members of our pipeline, two, global handing over development in our communities to clusters in the communities. And of course, the third one, which is the one that I also find that I also mentioned, if you puncture a gas pipeline, what happens is just vent gas, put it in a bucket or put it in a container to sell. But quite frankly, I think on the long term, the federal government is doing a lot about it around results from all the information that's coming through in the last few weeks around protection of gas pipelines, oil pipelines.
I want to get your final thoughts, especially on outlook for the gas sector and the gas market, because this is at a time when the world is looking at how a lot of potential can come in from the gas sector. In 1 minute, what's your outlook, especially for Nigeria?
Well, so I'll approach it from two sides. One is, of course, there's a lot of challenge today with what's happening in Europe. Energy demand is on one hand, so everyone is looking for gas. There's also the issue of energy security, which is key to a lot of nations. If you overlay that on the issue around climate change, so there's a huge challenge. So demand for energy is high. The prospects are also very high, long term, because indeed you use what you have to get what you need going into the future. I think that for us, I'll probably speak for gas.
Yes.
Is there for gas, and as a nation and as a company, we are on to trends which will increase our capacity from 20 to 30 tons per annum. So what this means for us as a country, as a people, and the rest of the world, the future of energy, especially for gas, which some see as transition, others see as the transition fuel, prospects are high.
Thank you so much, Andy Ode there, General Manager, External Relations and Sustainable Development at the NLNG. Thank you so much for taking our time to speak with us on Business Daily today. And that's where we draw the curtains for the program today. Thank you also for investing your time with us and also allowing us into your living rooms, your cars, your phones, wherever you're watching the program from online. Don't forget, you can always catch up on all you need to know in the world of the polity and business on our online platforms. The price of gas will not necessarily go up, so let our minds be at peace, according to Andy Ode there. I am Christiana Amodu Otinya, your host on the program. Enjoy the rest of your day.